Welcome back, everybody, to the Even Your Dynasty show.
We just got breaking news in.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Even Your Dynasty show. How's it going, guys?
That is such a catchy song.
It is. Yep, Jen had it playing early. We love it. Yeah, we're gonna jump in today. We're gonna go right to a second half preview. All-Star breaks coming to a close after today. We're back, back with baseball. Yeah, I guess officially, if you're going based off 162 games, second half technically started like 15 or so games ago, but someone's dog's going crazy down there.
Was that you?
I don't know. I heard a bunch of thuds.
So did I. I was like, is that an earthquake? Is that the Giants coming out of the mountains? Giants offense coming out of the grave? What is that?
Yeah. Right. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and jump right into a second half preview. Giants are currently 7 games over 500. I think they are 1 game behind in the wild card for the third wild card spot behind San Diego, or is it a half game behind?
I think it's a half
game. Yeah,
half game. All right, so half game back. Hopefully, some guys get a little healthier here. We've got Devers, who's been dinged up. Oh yeah, Giants are starting off hot. They got their ace going tomorrow, Justin Verlander. So we're gonna get the second half off with some fireworks. Those fireworks might be the Toronto offense, but we'll see. Hopefully the little bit of signs of life he showed last week are just the beginning of a good second half for him. But what do you guys think?
I'm just relieved that baseball's back. This week has sucked without Giants baseball, even though they break our hearts and they hurt our feelings and we lose days off for life by watching them. I have missed it. So interesting choice to have Verlander start the first game. But, I mean, if you can start with a win, turn the momentum around. Know what I mean? And amen to this, Daniel.
Yeah. Meaningful baseball in September.
I think to start the second half, the reactions are going to be very far to one side or the other. There's going to be no in between. It's either, oh my God, we're off to a hot start, Verlander actually gets a win, looks good, or oh my God, Verlander still sucks. We need to trade for an ace level starting pitcher, and sky's falling.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking Giants fandom here. We love you guys, and it's not these guys necessarily specifically in this chat right now, but this we were called the lunatic fringe for a reason. Gets a little extreme on both ends. So, but yeah, I think who do we got lined up the rest of the series? We have Verlander tomorrow. Then we're gonna have, I think
it's unannounced right now, but
they didn't announce it yet. Okay.
Just Verlander, so we'll see how the rest of it goes. But
yeah, it wouldn't shock me if we get like Birdsong in one of those first 2 days, since he did not throw before the break. And then we'll see on the second one. They might try and just get Webby out there, ASAP.
I will say I'm excited to see how this week's worth of rest kind of pays off for the lineup in particular. I know a lot of people are saying Devers in the comments section. We all know he needed the rest. Jung-Hoo Lee, he needed the rest. Maybe it'd be good for Chappie, get a little bit of extra rest coming back from that injury. Ramos too, I feel like he was kind of getting gas. So just in the lineup in particular, I'm hyped to see how they come out of this break, hopefully recharged and refreshed.
Yeah. And what do you guys think are kind of like the big storylines coming into the second half or coming out the gate? Maybe
you start, Ricky.
Well, I think all eyes are going to be on Rafael Devers, to be honest. He pretty much started his Giants career off the same way he started his Red Sox season off this year. And he's pretty close to approaching the same number of games he kind of went through those struggles with Boston this year. So I think it's a chance for him to rebound and just have a little bit fresher legs and maybe a little bit less sore of a back coming into the second half. And I mean, we've been saying it, he's extremely due. And the second his strikeout numbers start coming down and he starts getting some of those big hits with runners in scoring position, I think you're really just going to see the Giants offense take off as a whole, because when you have that guy hitting second and third, and if he starts doing what he's capable of doing, I mean, everything will start to fall into place, because you're getting these little contributions a week or two at a time from guys like Ramos, or, before the Devers trade, it was Chapman for a little bit. You saw it with Casey a little bit early in the season. It was Jung-Hoo Lee. So I think once we see him get going, the offense is really going to take off, and it should be really a league average unit at least. And if you get league average hitting from this team, watch out, because you still got Logan Webb and Robbie Ray at the front of the rotation, and then hopefully a rejuvenated Landon Roop and Hayden Birdsong. Hopefully Roop kind of picks up where he left off at the end of the first half, was looking really good. So I think they have a chance to go on a really nice run if he gets going. I think he's just the biggest one to keep eyes on at this point.
Yeah, if Devers heats up, he's the type of hitter where he's not just going to get hot for a week. He's going to get hot for a month plus. Like, he's going to carry the offense single-handedly once he gets going. So I think this break will do wonders for him. And then, like you mentioned, it's like the offense has just been stagnant for, since April. And we've been touching on it. Some guys get going, other guys get cold, and then it flips. Those guys start to heat up, and the other ones get cold. So I think, like you mentioned, if you can get a league average offense here in the second half, they have a real strong case to make a push for a wild card spot. I think you mentioned it in our group text either yesterday or earlier today, Ricky, where you compared how many wins the Giants have right now compared to a team like the Padres did last year and where they ended up finishing the season. And yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, the bullpen's going to do its thing. They're going to be rock solid for you. You got a great starting rotation, at least with the front or the top 2 or 3 are going to give you consistency there. So if you can get, a league average offense there, this team can make a push for a wild card berth undeniably. So you just really need to see some of these key guys get going, get healthy, and health is wealth, really. You can't afford any injuries to this core group in the offense. So I don't know. That's really what it comes down to. So I'm excited to see how they turn it around, and hopefully, they can get going as early as tomorrow.
Yeah. And to the point about Devers specifically, like he's a lineup changing presence especially when he's hot. Even when he's not, guys get pitched a little bit differently, but when he's hot, I mean, we've seen it. I mean, he can be a 900 plus OPS guy for several months at a time. I mean, he's a guy that when he gets hot, he might just be hot the rest of the season. So they really need him to get going, especially if they want to go on any kind of run. And we'll kind of see if he can get going. Ramos, obviously, he's been struggling. Same with Lee. Lee, it's been a very extended slump. They need him kind of more than most, just because of how good of a table setter he is when he is going. We talked before about moving Chapman up in the lineup. I still believe in that, but if Chapman can get going, he's another guy that can really help them, kind of create some offense. But yeah, I mean, like some of the people in here have been saying, like it's go time. Like the offense has to get going. Cause for me, like another big storyline, I know you guys mentioned Devers and the offense. Like to me, the other big storyline is, can the pitching staff hold up? And specifically, can guys like Landon Roop and Hayden Birdsong hold up down the stretch? I mean, Birdsong, he's had some issues, but I don't think they're in relation to him being tired or gassed out or anything like that. Birdsong kind of just, I felt like he was fighting something mechanical, but Landon Roop's already at 96 innings and his career high is 107. And they just, to put it bluntly, they can't afford him not being in the rotation. Like at all. Like if they lose him, they're in deep crap. So they really need him to find a way to get through the season. They also need, I saw a few people asking, are they going to trade for an arm and a bat? I actually think it's a better chance they're going to make a trade for an arm. But, they still seem to have this belief in Verlander.
Don't want to cut you off. Any trade for an arm that doesn't include that CBS Sports article. If you know, you know.
What, you don't want to trade Bryce Eldridge and Carson Whisenhunt for Sandy Alcantara?
Stupid. Like Ricky said, Verlander's got a lower ERA than Sandy.
Verlander is almost half as low ERA as Sandy.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Delusional.
Just had to throw that out there. I just had to throw it out there.
Yeah. And but just back to the point is just they're going to have to find a way to get length out of these guys deeper into the year. If Verlander goes on a run, that would take some pressure off those guys, but it's hard to it's hard to kind of rely on that given what we've seen through almost 100 games now. But hey, Roop's kind of got that Webb-ish type delivery. Maybe he's just got a rubber arm and he can just sit there and go forever. Who knows? I'm not going to hold my breath, but who knows? Maybe they're going to get some quality innings and meaningful innings out of someone like Carson Whisenhunt, but they're going to have to pick up innings somewhere. And that's why, I would love to see them go get a guy like Seth Lugo. We'll jump in on, possible targets and things like that in a bit, but that would be a guy that I'd be looking at, especially because I don't think he'll cost an arm and a leg.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, if Posey has as big of aspirations as he claims to have had with, when he made the Devers move, like you said, I think ultimately it's far more important that they go after additional pitching than they do hitting, because at the end of the day, we've mentioned this multiple times. They have most of their position player group filled up outside of really second base and right field are the only two you can't say are totally locked up. Everywhere else, they have guys that are solidified in the spots that they're in. And ultimately, if those guys don't hit, then that's kind of where you're at this point. Any move that would be made to upgrade those two spots would be marginal upgrades. And ultimately, at some point, we need to be able to count on guys that are getting paid to do damage. Willie Adames, Jung-Hoo Lee, Rafael Devers, Matt Chapman, these guys are your guys that are making over $100 million on their contracts and at some point need to produce. You got, what are we doing if we're not counting on those guys? Those guys are getting paid to be, top of the order, middle of the order type bats. And at the end of the day, you got to be able to count on those guys at some point. We've been kind of waiting for all those guys to collectively come through, and it really hasn't happened. But ultimately, those guys just need to do it. You kind of have to go down swinging with those guys offensively. But on the pitching side, like you said, how are you going to rely on guys like Landon Roop and Hayden Birdsong to not only get you to the postseason, but get you through the postseason, far exceeding what their career highs and innings pitched are. We're gonna see what they've got, but ultimately, when they moved off of Kyle Harrison to get Devers, you kind of got rid of your safety blanket there, and I mean Jordan Hicks too, in a way. Just as far as eating innings more and getting you through the regular season. Now you're pretty much left with guys like Carson Whisenhunt and Carson Seymour, and that's pretty much where you're at. So I can't think of a bigger need before the trade deadline than adding on, starting pitching. You mentioned Seth Lugo or guys like Merrill Kelly, just a veteran arm that can just plug into the middle of the rotation. You don't need those guys to be elite, but you just need somebody to get you through the end of this season and then reevaluate going into next year, even if you just acquire rental.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Even if you get a guy who's, under contract for a couple of years, I mean, that'll at least help you out with Verlander, obviously leaving the offseason, still trying to see what you got in Whisenhunt, stuff like that. So if you can get a guy, low risk that's still under team control, that'd be ideal. And you can plug him in as a fourth, fifth, or even like that emergency blanket, like you mentioned. And he can potentially compete for a role in the rotation next year. I mean, that'd be ideal there. So, no, I agree with you guys. I feel like the roster itself is pretty much set as far as the lineups goes. I've been talking about it for a while. I personally would like to see the floor of the bench get elevated quite a little bit. That would be ideal. I don't see them making a splash for like a big name, but if you can get somebody to upgrade either like a corner outfield position or a infield utility depth, something just to elevate the floor, that'd be nice. But yeah, I think in general, we'll see a couple moves that go down over the next couple weeks. I don't expect anything major. I think, Devers was obviously the big move of the trade deadline, and I think he will still be the biggest move. In my opinion, it's just about elevating your floor as far as your bench is concerned and addressing some starting pitching help, and I think they'll be okay.
Yeah. And I agree, Dan. We got NorCal Dan hanging out here with us today. Yes, I agree. Chapman should be hitting in front of Devers.
Oh, for 100%.
Sure. Yeah, I think the other storyline on this is going to be how aggressive is Posey. And when I say that, I mean, you're almost going to see what he thinks of the Giants farm a little bit and their ability to develop players, because while I personally don't think, and I know everybody's going to have their takes on this, whether it's, you feel like anytime you have a chance to win, you should be pushing all your chips in. I don't personally think this is the team yet where you do that. I'm much more a believer in this team should just be, they've already gotten Devers, go chase a couple like rental players that aren't going to cost you a ton. We'll release our top, our top 20 prospects here later in this show. For me, like 8 on down is fair game, but I wouldn't be touching the top 7 because to me, I don't think it's worth damaging your long-term yet for what's a team that I just don't quite think is at that level of like championship caliber. And I want a team that's going to be sustainably good for a long time. That is one of the most consistent messages I've had on the show for the longest time is I want a team that's going to make the playoffs every year for like 10 to 15 years and just has a shot every single year. And I don't think this is quite the time to like push your chips in because you're going to end up with an aging, expensive roster that in 3 years we're like, okay, time to sell off because we stink. Like that's the concern there. So I think we're going to find out like what Posey thinks of this system, because if he is super aggressive and he just dumps a bunch of the top end talent chasing a star, which I don't even know which big time stars that are like young and cost controlled are really going to be available out there. But if he goes out and just like guts the top end, you probably are going to be, it's probably pretty fair to say he doesn't think too highly of what we've got, because if he did think highly of what we got, then we would be trying to build a little bit towards using some of those guys or transitioning to some of these guys in the next year or two.
Well, and the bigger picture with that is next year, we've talked about it privately. I firmly believe the Giants are going to have 4 to 5 top 100 prospects.
Mm-hmm.
So you already got your core locked down for years to come with Webby, Chappie, Adames, Devers. Like, you got your core right there, especially they lock down Ramos long-term. Like, you can be going into this offseason with a bunch of money off the books, with a solid core already, established for years to come in the heart of your lineup, with a solid ace that's not going anywhere, great young pitching, and 4 to 5 top 100 prospects. Like, you are going to be a really appealing destination to free agents and to teams that are looking to make trades at that point in time. So I don't see any reason to ship out your top, like you mentioned, 7 prospects that are in the system. If you want to dangle some of the, 8 through 20 that we're going to throw up on the list, aside from the homies of the show, obviously, go ahead and do that if it means you're going to elevate the floor to at least, compete for a wild card berth this year. But you're going to be a very attractive destination next year.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
And one thing I'm going to add before Ricky takes over here is if you sell some of these guys now, you are potentially selling. I don't want to say selling low because, necessarily they could, or they could also go the other way and like all of a sudden regress massively. And then it's like, oh, we should have traded him last year when they were looking good. But also at the same time, they do have those like 4 or 5 position players that look like potential top 100 prospects. They also have like 3 or 4 pitchers that look like they could be top 100 prospects in a year or two. And it's like, if you sell those guys now before they've really established their value, you sold too early and you didn't sell them when their value was high. So like, that's the other part of it. Like, I do think next year, if Bryce is as good as we all hope, especially, I mean, it's a big if, but if he's as good as we all hope, this team is going to be just, markedly better next season, especially with the young pitchers being another year experience. They still have Ray under contract. They'll have an off season to go address some of the other holes, like right-handed catcher next to Bailey, better, another veteran starter that's better than Verlander. They're going to have time to fill out some of the holes on the roster. If they, maybe Casey Schmidt's the answer at second base. If he's not, they have time to go address that. Right field, all these different positions. So I feel like there's a good chance they're a better team next year, and that is going to be the time when if that big star comes available, you can push your chips in.
Yeah, and beyond that top 7 that you mentioned in their system, it's just not deep enough beyond that to really, afford trading those guys right now. That time could come at some point next year, maybe before the deadline or or in the off season after next season. But right now is not really the time to go all in. There's not really that guy that you really want to go after. Obviously, there's names like Joe Ryan and, big time starting pitching, but I just don't feel like that's a big enough need for the Giants to go after like a high end guy like that to warrant, gutting your farm system. Because ultimately, if you go and gut your farm system now, and if this year's draft isn't great, then you could be looking at a situation where the Giants 2 years from now are in a spot like they were in, say, 2018, where you're stuck riding out guys like Evan Longoria and Andrew McCutchen and guys that are, way past their prime. And you don't have those guys in the cupboard to really restock your major league team, because you can't just look at it simply from the standpoint of, hey, we have, Ramos, Adames, Jung-Hoo Lee, Chapman, taking up Devers, all taking up spots. You do have to have some depth there. And, 2-3 years from now, we really may be looking at a situation where you have Bryce already up. You have guys like Dakota Jordan scratching the surface and, being pretty close to major league ready. And you want guys like that to be able to take over when these older guys start getting injured. And, say, Robbie Ray's not going to be around by then, but you hope Landon Roop and Hayden Birdsong develop enough to move to the front half of the rotation. But you need those guys in the wings, and you just can't afford to really deteriorate what's there of your farm system, because it does feel like they're building in the right direction right now. But you got to leave it alone for a little bit, or at least wait until the offseason when you can reevaluate and see what's out there in free agency and how you can restock the team before you go and empty the cupboard.
Absolutely.
100%.
So
yeah.
That's where I'm at. Like you mentioned, Cody, I think this trade deadline really comes down to, if they do make any additional moves, it's all just for the short term. Like, rental types are kind of where it's at, so you can reevaluate what you have in the offseason, while not really giving up anybody outside or inside that top 7 of your farm system. So
yeah.
Like we mentioned, Merrill Kelly, Seth Lugo, guys like that make a lot more sense, because the Giants really don't need that 1 or 2 type starter right now. They just need a little bit more consistency in the middle of the rotation, because right now you're just relying way too much on Landon Roop, and we don't really know what's going to come, come September and possibly October.
Yeah. And I saw somebody mention like theoretically this could be the Giants' best chance, and I mean you never know. I mean it definitely could, because of how good their pitching is, but I don't think the pitching, like statistically, it's been good. Like I'm not going to sit there and argue that they've been statistically one of the best pitching staffs, if not the best pitching staff, top to bottom, on the season. That said, Verlander's a big question mark. We have two young pitchers that we don't know are going to be able to make it through the season. And Camilo Doval is our closer right now, who has been extremely unreliable since becoming the closer full time. I don't necessarily think the pitching is like this isn't a historic pitching staff. This isn't this staff isn't as good as any of the World Series years that they had. You could make a case for 2014, I guess, because the second half of that season, pretty much everybody not named Madison Bumgarner fell apart. PV had a good regular season at the end, but then playoffs hit. So I guess you could probably make a case for that year, but it's that team also had Buster Posey. This team does not in the lineup. So I don't think that the pitching is going to be worse going forward. I actually think their pitching has a chance to be even better next season with more young, with some of these young guys hopefully taking another step forward. I think Webb will continue being good. They still have Robbie Ray for one more year, and you can go out and get another veteran that's like I said earlier, better.
All right. Yeah, like you was saying, you want to get somebody better than Verlander, to try to fill in that extra depth that you got in the rotation. It's not quite as deep as it was during those dynasty years, but you're hoping they go out and at least make a move, make a big signing that's suitable for the needs. You don't need to go make a splashy acquisition, but if you can make a move that solidifies the floor on your rotation, you'll be good to go for a potential playoff push. So we'll kind of see how Posey goes and approaches it. There's going to be a few names out there, so hopefully, we're in for a treat here.
Yeah, and just outside of adding depth to the starting rotation, I think also, like you guys mentioned, adding to the pen could help a lot. I really think they do need another back end guy, whether it's an actual closer or just another 7th or 8th inning guy. You got to add somebody else in there, because the problem it seems like the Giants really started to run into late in the first half when they went through their little rut was, Melvin would go with, the usual Rogers, Rodriguez, Doval. When the Giants were up by, say, 2-3 runs, they do that 2 nights in a row. And then that third night, he's having to go to the Ryan Walkers and guys like that who haven't been as reliable. So ultimately, I think at this point, like I said, you write out what you have with the offense, unless you're going to add like a bench piece or something. And then you go out there and just add to the pen wherever that guy can plug in and just make it have a little bit more depth, because you just cannot afford to have some of these guys that they're relying on late in games. I mean, Spencer Bivens has been a nice story. I think he's been really good pretty much all year, but high leverage late inning situations is not the role for him. He excels in, the middle innings and taking over for a guy that maybe only went 4 or 5 innings as a starter, and taking over in those situations and giving you kind of like the bulk innings. And I think you can rely on him a little bit more. If you're throwing him in the 6th or 7th, it's not the worst scenario in the world with how he's been pitching. But he's not a guy you want to have to go to in, what was it, the 10th inning against the Dodgers, and you're facing the beef. Like, I understand they had to go through their high leverage guys just to stay in that game and then eventually tie it. But ultimately, like, why not just make a strength an even bigger strength at this point? Because, like I said, there's not very much flexibility when adding to the lineup right now. So just continue to add to that strength. There's several names out there that we can look at. But whether it's a closer, a 7th or 8th inning guy, I definitely think that should be a priority. And there are guys out there where you're not going to have to, give up, say, 2 top 5 prospects like you would for a guy like Duran up in Minnesota or someone like that. Just adding a little bit more pitching depth and kind of just writing it out with the hitting and hoping it'll turn around, because you can't just expect Devers to be striking out like 40% of the time and hitting, 200 like he has been since he's been with the Giants. That will turn around. Ramos went into a little bit of a cold streak there at the end of the second half. We all know he's going to turn it around. He always makes adjustments. Chapman was pretty bad when he came back from his injury. Fully expect that to turn around. So I think we're going to see the lineup go on a little bit of a run, especially on this first road trip with, going into Toronto and Atlanta, 2 good hitter sparks.
Yeah, and a name I think isn't being talked about enough is that can potentially, help you out in the second half is Carson Whisenhunt. So I really think if you're not going to go out and make like a super splashy or, a move that's going to elevate either the bullpen or the starting rotation, I mean, you do have a couple guys within the system that you can use, which Whisenhunt would be a prime example right there. So they have a couple options that they can go about it. I just really think they got to play it smart and they got to play it safe. Cody, you're muted. I'm sending you a message right now.
Oh, okay. You're good.
There you go.
Lost connection in my cave.
We sent Cody to the Shadow Realm.
Yeah. I took a visit to the Upside Down. Oh, man. Okay.
Welcome back, buddy. Glad to have you.
Yeah, I actually put it on so I could hear what you guys were saying while I was rebooting. I heard you like totally just take over.
Yeah, that was clutch, gotta say.
Yeah.
It's a good thing I was listening.
Yeah. I was sitting there yapping, and all of a sudden I realized both your faces were just frozen on my screen. I was like, nice.
For us, it just cut you out immediately. So I was like, oh, I'll just pick up. What kind of says Farhan as a Demogorgon? Facts.
That's awesome. All right, so what else we got for the second half?
I do want to flag this because we haven't shouted it out yet. And it kind of goes hand in hand with what we were talking about. Aaron, thanks for the 199. He says, where do you guys think Buster stands on Bailey? I think I'll get to that in a second, but I think personally, which is what a lot of you guys in the comments have been saying, they need to get a backup catcher, in my opinion. Logan Porter, Andrew Kisner, they're just not cutting it. Bailey, when he goes cold, he gets ice baby cold. They need to get a backup catcher desperately. I don't know who's going to be out there, but
Blake Sable.
Anybody but that dude. But you got to go and make a move on somebody because I think
Murphy will return.
Oh my God, I'm gonna rage quit this. I think Buster, he thinks very highly of Bailey for his defense. He's gone out and publicly, backed him up. Now, Buster's not going to go out and bash the dude, but he has said straight up, like, Bailey needs to step it up on offense. And I'm like, he's starting to turn it around. He's creeping over that 200 mark. He's, pushing a 600 OPS, but like you got to get to at least league average, in my opinion. And I think Buster's well aware of that. So he's not going to go anywhere right now. His defense is too valuable. But like we've been saying since, August of 2023, you can't have a black hole in your lineup in the catching position. So whether that means you're going to split his days when there's a lefty on the mound and get a right-handed hitting backup catcher, you're going to need to do something like that. So I hope they personally go out and make a move for it. I advocated it for it all offseason, and for whatever reason, they didn't want to do it. But, it is what it is. They were counting on Tom Murphy, which I wouldn't count on Tom Murphy to take the trash out. But, that's my thoughts there.
He wouldn't get – he'd try and throw it in the bin, and he would 5-hop it.
Yeah, exactly.
The Tom Murphy situation has to be like one of the weirdest situations I've seen with any Giants player. It's like he just magically has this injury. Nobody ever says anything about him. You never see him anywhere. I'm convinced he's like in Guantanamo Bay and they had him sign an NDA or something. Because, I mean, where the hell has Tom Murphy been? Not that I want him back by any means, but it is
He
wild
just
that
vanished.
you like normally you see guys like Harar in the dugout. You never see Tom Murphy anywhere. You never see video of him down in Arizona.
He's on the upside down, bro.
You never. It's wild. Like I honestly think Buster said, "You're atrocious. Stay at home. We don't want to hear from you. We're gonna pay you the rest of your contract." I don't know.
And dude, I don't want to like sound like some arrogant dude, but I texted you guys a minute after we signed Tom Murphy. I said, that's a shitty signing.
Yeah.
And look what it's turned into, bro. So,
I mean, y'all know I try not to just trash on a deal or a signing or a draft pick or any of that stuff right out the gate. That was one I was like, I don't understand this. I mean, I've always been like, hey, let's see what happens. Maybe I'm not a fan of it, but I'm like, okay, I'll always give them a chance. And that was one where I was like, nah, I've watched this guy play defense. It's non-existent.
I understand the logic behind it because we all know Bailey's not a great right-handed hitter.
Yeah.
He's not a good hitter, but he's at least, can come through from the left side like he did the other night. So I understand they wanted to have that lefty-righty kind of, combination. But like you mentioned, if you're going to get a backup catcher, you need somebody that's at least a plus average defender. At least an average defender if he's got a great bat. Tom Murphy, he didn't have even a decent glove, and the bat, he had very, very limited success within his career. So yeah, I didn't understand that at all, quite frankly. Yeah, you're good, bro.
Okay, cool. Sweet.
Yeah, that's why I did that, because you needed to get that fixed. But
yeah. No, I figured. When it put me back in, it was still like all over the place. Yeah, there was a couple other comments in here. Mike said, "Could the Giants trade for Rooker?"
Yeah.
Okay. Before the Devers deal, I would have probably said, yeah, even if it's going to cost you a couple high-end guys, I wouldn't have traded Bryce, but I was like, even if it's going to cost you a couple high-end guys, he's on a super team-friendly deal, I'd have been all for it. But now that you've got Devers, I mean, where are we going to play him? We don't really have anywhere for him to play. You can only have so many DH types on your roster at one time. And I get they're trying to get Devers to play first base. Sure. But where are you going to put Rooker? I mean, I guess you could maybe try him in left field, but then you got to put Ramos in right field. I would just hold my breath and live with it. But I know a lot of Giants fans would be pretty pissed off at watching Elliot Ramos play right field. So you're kind of running out of spots. And not to mention, he's under contract for 5 more years. Let's say in a year, Bryce Eldridge, we feel, is ready. Where the heck are you putting him?
And correct me if I'm wrong, the Giants and the A's almost never do deals together.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Like, I think there's maybe a handful that's gone down in their team's history. So what makes you think you're going to take away one of their literal franchise hitters if you guys rarely make even minor deals over the years? So, yeah, when Slesser put out that, hypothetical, I was like, are you tripping? Like, no, it makes no logical sense for any side. So,
yeah, for sure. You want to add anything to that, Ricky?
Sorry, what was that?
I said, do you want to add anything to that?
Oh, sorry, you guys froze up on me for a second.
I think your connection got spotty. You kind of froze up a little bit.
Got you. Okay. No, not really. I kind of missed some of what you guys were saying when that went out. So,
dude, just the Brent Rooker rumors, how the Giants and A's don't make deals, and how it's really hard to find a place for Rooker when you got Devers now and Bryce coming up next year. So it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, to me, if the Giants weren't able to really pull off any moves with the A's while Farhan was here. I don't see anything changing because Farhan had that relationship with Billy being in Oakland. Now that he's moved on, I don't see any chance anything changes anytime soon. Maybe he proves me wrong, but I mean, honestly, it kind of felt like the Brent Rooker thing was really just kind of overblown by Susan Slusser. I mean, I don't think we heard it really from anywhere else. I think it's just speculation and a name she's familiar with that she threw out there. And it just makes no sense. Like the one part I did hear Cody mention was the positional issues, on defense. He's not a great defender. So where are you going to put him? It just further complicates things. He is locked up. And the worst part about it simply is, his contract is so affordable that it's going to make him extremely expensive at the deadline. And, we kind of talked about it before we started the show, but I personally just don't feel like Rooker's the type of dude you want to go and gut the farm for. And I feel like it's one of those moves that you would look at 3 years down the road and be like, oh boy, what did we do? We just set ourselves back several years with the farm system for a guy who has no positional value. And then now we have him and Devers on the same team. And, ultimately when Bryce comes in, you kind of want to have a spot for him and then just be able to more than likely stick Devers in the DH spot. So yeah, I don't think it's reasonable at all. I don't think it's any coincidence that we haven't heard it from anywhere else other than Susan. And you kind of got to look at the way she phrases things sometimes, because that tells you how confident she really is in what she's saying. In that situation, it really didn't seem like she had any kind of inside info on it at all. So
it's just pure speculation, but I don't see the fit for it. Now, a player that they just said in the comments that I do see a fit, which mathematically speaking, it might be a little tough. Sean Murphy is definitely an intriguing option that's more than likely going to get dealt this month. And I would personally love to see a Murphy-Bailey duo for the next couple of years to come. That bat is just insane, and he's got a rocket of an arm. So we've talked about it briefly over the last couple of weeks, but I have heard that name come up more and more in some rumors and speculation, especially on X. So I would be all for it.
Yeah, I would like Murphy. I think he has like 3 years, 52.5 million or something like that left on his deal because he's making like 15 a year.
Yeah.
I would love to get Murphy on this roster. And, if Bailey does take off, then yeah, he'll get the lion's share of the playing time. And you may end up having to flip Murphy again in a year or two. But if he doesn't, if he doesn't, Bailey doesn't take off, then if anything, we know Murphy's a good player.
Yeah.
So it kind of solves that issue there. The other names that we've seen kind of get floated out there recently, Luis Robert Jr. and Adolis Garcia were a couple other names that got, everyone talked about. I think Garcia has one more year on his contract. Luis Robert Jr. is kind of an interesting one because I think he only has like one more guaranteed year, and then he might not actually have any more guaranteed years. I think it's club options from here out.
Yeah, those two names have definitely been floated out there. We're supposedly interested in both.
Yeah, I'm pulling up Robert Jr.'s right now.
Yeah.
So Luis Robert Jr. is only got 2 more years of club options at $20 million per season. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those that the Giants, if they want to do that trade, like I don't think the cost is going to be very high because the White Sox they're not going to pick up his $20 million club option, not the way he's played the last 2 years, basically. And the Giants could basically get him for probably pennies on the dollar. And if he takes off, great. If he doesn't, whatever. You just let him, you just don't pick up his option and you don't have to worry about the money. So it would be interesting. Now, that said, I think between the two of them, I'd rather they go get Garcia. He's at least seemingly doing something the last couple of years. He's not hit for much of average, but he still has a ton of pop. He's still is hitting the ball hard pretty consistently. He has some issues with strikeouts, but it's nothing like what Luis Robert Jr. has. He's still a really good defender, plus defender in right field. So you could just slot him into right field for Yaz. So between the two of them, I would lean Garcia, but yeah, I mean, both their contract situations, I don't think are situations where you'd be having to give up an arm and a leg at all.
Yeah, it's really going to depend on, what their asking price is for both of them for the reasons you described, because you'll have some flexibility as far as their contracts are concerned, and where you're going to play them. And like you mentioned, I mean, Luis Robert's been rough this year, plain and simple, but he has a very, very high ceiling. So it's a gamble for sure. I think Garcia gets you a little bit of a higher floor and a little bit lesser of a ceiling, but he can still provide some oomph to your lineup as well. So, yeah, I mean, in my opinion, it really just depends on the asking prices for them. Like you said, if you can get one or the other for pretty cheap, I say go for it.
And Garcia has one more, his third arbitration year in 2026. He'll be 33.
Yeah.
So he's under contract for a year and a half. And he made 10.5 mil this year. Arbitration, even if you don't play great, it's very rare that your number goes down the following year. So, you'd be looking at probably 10 to 12 mil next season.
Yeah, I'm way more in on Adolis Garcia than I am Robert Jr. Robert Jr., I think it's been the same issues for a few years now. There's no production whatsoever. We're just kind of banking on his ceiling, which so far was the 2021 or 2022 season now. You're banking on that pretty much and an extremely low floor. And the Giants aren't the Astros. They're not the Dodgers. They're not the Yankees. They're not a team that can afford to take on that kind of a risk in the middle of contending. If his value was this low last year, yeah, they absolutely could have taken that chance on a guy with all of his tools. But with the position they're in this year, they need some stability. That's been the biggest problem with this team, is a lack of consistency, whether it's been in the closer role, whether it's been in the back end of the rotation, whether it's been in the lineup. It has been a huge issue all the way around and is what's really capped the ceiling on this team. And if you go to a guy like Robert Jr. to start games for you in right field, you're going to have some pretty low points. I mean, the guy, we complain about Bailey not hitting 200. This guy's been consistently under 200 also. So, he brings the high ceiling with the power, but, with Garcia, you at least know the effort's going to be there. He's won it on the biggest stage. Obviously him playing under Bochy helps too, because Buster can go refer to him if they are interested in trading him to the Giants and ask about what kind of guy he is. And then, he plays good defense, unlike Rooker. So you're not really worried about that there either. And as we've kind of mentioned off the channel, he's heating up at the right time, kind of like Willy Adames as well. So those are all pluses for me. And I really don't think you're going to have to give up a crazy amount to go and get a guy like him. I believe he's 32 years old. So you're not looking at some super young guy right in the middle of his prime that's just absolutely killing it right now.
Well, and then to your point, you still got Adolis for a year and a half if you go out and get him. And in my opinion, that would be the better option purely for this reason, because Yaz's contract is expired after this year. Next year, if you go in with Adolis Garcia as your everyday right fielder, then you can bring up a guy like Grant McCray to be as your fourth outfielder. Left-handed hitter, got solid pop. He's got a lot of swing and miss. He's been a little bit better on that lately, but he can definitely drive it into the gap. He is going to be your ideal defensive replacement. If you need him to come in, or if you need a pinch runner, need him to try and swipe a bag, whatever it is, that would be an ideal number 4, in my opinion. So if you got, the bulk with Ramos, Lee, and Garcia as your everyday starters, and then you got a little, versatile elite defender with a solid ball to bat skills and a guy like McRae coming off the bench, I think you're setting yourself up for success way more than you currently are with the right field position this year as it stands, where you've had, Yaz is your starter he's very, very streaky, and then you're relying on Matos in a role where he's not built for. So I think just in general, you're going to elevate not only the ceiling with right field, but also the floor. So it's a win-win scenario in a case like that. So that's why I think a guy like Garcia would be, definitely intriguing for not only a potential playoff push this year, but also to see what you got going next year.
Yeah. And the other thing, like to your point, is Garcia's not, if he turns the clock back a couple of years and hits 39 home runs, and you just pencil him in the lineup every day and call it good. But the last couple of years, like he hasn't been necessarily so good or dominant that McRae couldn't theoretically take the job from him.
Yeah.
You
can essentially platoon them if you want.
Yeah, and you probably wouldn't go full on, but with McRae playing all three spots at a very high level, Ramos can get a day off here and there. Lee can get a day off here and there, and then he can probably get like a couple a start or two a week against a righty for Garcia. There's ways around that where they could get him some good playing time, especially if you're going to roll with basically a 4-man rotation in the outfield. Like you can get him plenty of playing time. So that's a great point. I think someone else mentioned Stephen Kwan. I would love Stephen Kwan in this lineup. I don't know if the Giants have I think they have the ammo to get him. I don't know if they're going to have the stomach to trade what it takes to get him, because he is under contract, I think, like 3 more years or 2 more years, 2.5 years. So it's not going to be cheap to get him.
It won't. And he would be a perfect fit in San Francisco, quite frankly. Just want to touch on Dan's comment really quick because it's involved with what we're talking about. We agree, Dan, by far. We just don't think that him in his current role is setting him up for success in any way, shape, or form. Where you're having him, come off the bench or, start 1 day a week, get 2 at-bats, and then bench for a few days. I mean, that's not setting him up for success. That's not a role where he's thriving in San Francisco. He's a guy that you want to give everyday looks at. So, unfortunately, it just doesn't seem like the Giants are willing to do that. But in a perfect world, and that's something that all three of us have been advocating for as well.
And ultimately, I don't personally think they're going to trade for an outfielder. Other than what they did last year with God, why am I drawing a blank on the guy they got from Baltimore? Okay, well, maybe it'll come to me. But, I could see them trading for like a right-handed Slater type. McKenna. Ryan McKenna.
Yeah.
I was drawing a blank on his name. But
he's
I don't see
them
do it. Yeah, I don't see them doing anything big in the outfield.
Or an AJ Pollock.
Don't say that name. Don't say that name.
It's gonna be another one of these where they go and get a righty that's gonna platoon with Yaz. And because I think realistically right now they're gonna set themselves up next season where they're gonna have, Matos and McRae and Luciano even potentially, and all these guys, and they're just gonna be like, someone go win a corner outfield job, someone go take it, and maybe they'll add a vet to that mix. I mean, it's hard to think Posey's going to be comfortable with that, but they might think at least with the floor of someone like McRae, where they know at the bare minimum defensively he'll be really good, and whenever he does get on base, he'll be really valuable on the bases. So they might just be comfortable with it, and then say if they don't like what's out there in the offseason, and then get aggressive at the deadline if nobody performs. So
it's kind of unfortunate, honestly, because the time to play Matos would have been at the start of the year, but instead every time the guy hits a home run, it's like, okay, we're going to bench him. And then, it takes him a little while to get going again, hits a home run, bench him again. And it's just an endless cycle. And there's been plenty of opportunities when Yaz has gone into these prolonged slumps like he does every year, and they just don't really give him extended run. You might see 3-4 games, and that's the absolute max we ever see. And that usually involves the Giants facing 2 lefty starting pitchers. So it's unfortunate. And then going back on the Stephen Kwan thing, he's right in the middle of his prime. He's 27 years old currently. Very affordable contract. I think he's making a little over $4 million this year, and then he's just arbitration eligible the next 2 seasons. He would cost an absolute ton for the Giants. Like we could be looking at easily 4 guys in the top 8 prospects. Just an absolute haul. And if we're being honest with ourselves, Steven Kwan is what you're hoping Jung-Hoo Lee would be at the absolute highest end, as far as being a really good defensive outfielder and being a line drive hitter. It's going to get on base a ton, not strike out a lot. That's kind of what you're hoping Jung-Hoo Lee is going to do. And obviously he hasn't done it this year. He's shown really, really high-end flashes. But ultimately, like we've said, you've got Jung-Hoo Lee locked up for a while. So you kind of got to see what you have in him before you go and, trade a huge haul for a guy just basically being the same type of player as him, just a higher end. If you're going to go and give up a haul, it needs to be for like a big time power hitter, in my opinion.
Yeah. Lee showed so much promise in the first 6-7 weeks of the season. I don't know what happened.
It's crazy, man. You know it's nuts with Lee as well. He's been in just like this absolutely insane funk. He still has 33 extra base hits this season.
Yeah, dude, because he was just mashing them every single game for the first few weeks.
Yeah, it's just nuts, man. Like he could easily be a 60 plus extra base hit a year guy. And I mean, like 10 of those or 12 of those would be triples, and he'd probably have like 40 doubles, but still he could be just a high end extra base hit guy. So, we'll see. But I think it's going to be a good time to jump over to our top 20 list. That way this show doesn't get too long, because this will probably take us a hot minute to get through. I am going to share the list up on the board. We're going to give a little bit of the players' numbers, probably talk briefly about each guy on the top 20, as well as, we'll give kind of some of our logic as to why we ranked them the way we did. Now, so before we do that, though, we do have like 150 plus of you guys in here. So anybody that is enjoying this, enjoys the content we put out, all the different things we put out there, the minor league reports, the live shows, player interviews, all the different things we try and put together, please do hit that like, hit the subscribe, hit the bell, all that good stuff. Really helps the channel grow. We really appreciate all your guys' support. So I'm going to just go ahead and we're going to pull the top 20 up. The way we did this, now this isn't necessarily any one of our lists in particular. The way we did this is we all ranked, our own personal top 20s. We awarded points for each guy, kind of like they do for like MVP voting and all that kind of stuff. We awarded points, 20 points went to the guy at number 1 point to the guy at number 20. And combined all our lists basically into whoever had the most points. That's how it got ranked. So we're going to go ahead and just pull that up for y'all.
You got it?
See? Yeah, I got it. Now that my stuff's working again.
Cool.
And that's what we came up with. So obviously, we listed kind of all the defensive positions that they actually have played. So like Bryce hasn't touched the outfield this season. They did mess with it last year. With Devers here, you never know, kind of they may end up circling back to that one. But yeah, we'll start off with at the top. Everybody can see the list, so I'm not going to just like read through the whole thing. Bryce Eldridge, he was unanimous. All 3 of us had him number 1. Funny enough, I think I could make a case that there's 3 other guys that have a higher ceiling than he does on this top 20 list, but I also think it's impossible to ignore the fact that he's doing this all at 20 years old. And he is someone that's very unique to what the Giants have had in their system, with just incredible left-handed power. On the year, obviously, most of his damage happened in Double-A. He only played, I think, 3 weeks in Triple-A before he got injured. He should be coming back tomorrow, though, rumor has it. But on the year, he's hitting 266, 812 OPS, 10 homers, 21 extra base hits. He's got a 28% strikeout rate and an 8.9% walk rate. I don't have the season WRC plus, but I will say he had a 150 WRC plus in AA. So he was 50% better than the league average in a league that has been notoriously brutal to hit in. And he was just starting to get going in AAA, and he pulled his hammy. So, yeah.
I'm just happy he's back.
Yeah. I don't think we need to go too deep on Bryce. We all agree that on that one. This one, I don't think we were unanimous, but I think 2 of us had him at number 2 was Dakota Jordan. This is where it gets interesting because it's funny. All of us had the same number 1, the same number 6, and same number 7. Our 2 through 5s are all different, pretty much.
They were the same guys, I think. They were just different order.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, we had the same players, just different orders. And Dakota ended up coming at number 2 on the year. We'll go through his numbers, then we'll kind of talk a little bit about him. He's 22 years old. He's in San Jose still, hitting 302, 843 OPS, 10 homers, 31 extra base hits, 27 stolen bases. He has 70 RBIs. I don't usually care about RBIs, but I just want to highlight just how ridiculous that is this early in the season. 70 RBIs, 23% strikeout rate, 9.4 walk, 130 WRC plus.
Now, Dakota Jordan is a freak of nature, to put it lightly. He is a freaking unit. I don't even know how to describe him. His potential is so insanely high because he's got so many different tools. He's an athletic freak. I think if everything works out, he can potentially be a star. Like, he is a beast, and he's a super nice guy. He said what's up to me and Ricky at the game. So, but and knock on wood, Ricky can work his magic and get him on the show. But no, I'm very, very high in Dakota. I had him at number 2 on my list. I just think his tools and his upside is otherworldly.
Yeah. And for context on where Dakota stands with RBIs right now, the top 2 guys in RBIs in the California League where the San Jose Giants play, top 2 guys in RBIs last year finished with 90 and 72. The guy that came in second with 72 last year is currently a top 25 prospect in all of the MLB with the Mariners. So just for perspective, how nice of a season Dakota's having. Personally, if I had to rank all these guys, I feel like he has the highest ceiling of all these guys in the Giants system. Just from a pure athleticism standpoint, from, showing off every single one of the tools you want to see. It's just going to be a matter of if they can, through the higher levels, keep his strikeout numbers down and really unleash his power potential, I think is really what it's going to come down to. He got off to a little bit of a slow start this season in terms of extra base hits and home runs. But he's really turned it on as of late. It was really a shame that they hit the All-Star break because he went on an absolute tear, I think hitting like 3 home runs in the last week before the All-Star break.
Yeah.
Getting his total up to 10, which now leads the San Jose Giants, or ties for the lead for the San Jose Giants. So Dakota's got a ton of power. I think all 3 of us really want to see him up in Eugene like ASAP and just kind of see what he can do against a little bit higher level of competition, because he's just flat out dominated down there. And I would really love to see him get like up to 100 RBIs or real close to 100 RBIs, because with them having a little bit shorter of a season, it'd be super impressive to see one of their prospects pull that off. Not something we see too often with any Giants hitters.
Yeah. I just double checked in the last 3 weeks. I checked my notes really quick in the last 3 weeks. Dakota had 5 home runs and 7 doubles.
Yeah, dude. He's a beast.
I mean, when you're talking 30 plus extra base hits and then almost 30 stolen bases, just insane. I just saw Dan's comment. That's hilarious. Yeah. And, this is where it gets a little tricky. I personally, so I had Dakota 2, I had Bo Davidson at 3. That was my personal list. To me, 5 tool players. And or, you know, well, 5-tool potential, obviously. And where it gets a little, the differentiating factor for me was I feel like Bo is probably a little bit more polished of a prospect. I think he's got a slightly better hit tool, but I do feel like as far as like raw tools go, power, defense, arm, speed, I feel like Dakota is just a tick higher on all of those. Like I think they're both 5-tool potential, but I just feel like Dakota's got like one like little extra gear on that. And if he hits, and so I basically turned it into who, if they both hit their ceilings, who do I think is the better prospect? And that's how I settled on Dakota. Now that said, just because, you know, age at level, what level they're at, performance at level, et cetera, all those things do matter. If Bo Davidson just got promoted to Double-A, which, for anybody wondering, we were speculating that before it happened the other day. But Bo Davidson did get promoted to Double-A. If Bo shows up to Double-A for the last 8.5 weeks of the season and just tears the cover off the ball, I think you kind of would have to slot him in at number 2 until Dakota proves it in the higher levels. So like it gets a little, you have to balance it all.
That's fair. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So number 3, this is where it got a little bit, we had a little bit of, I think this was probably the one we disagreed on the most, but not by a ton, just in the order, was number 3 ended up being Carson Whisenhunt. He's 24 years old, AAA. He's thrown 94 innings a season, 4.5 ERA, 1.33 whip, 7.85 Ks per 9. They've actually dropped quite a bit this season. 2.68 walks per 9. He's almost cut that in half. He's down like 2 walks per 9 on the year compared to 2024. 1.15 home run per 9, a little higher than you probably want it. That's probably a little bit due to his fastball command. And ground ball rate, a couple things I highlighted with him. His ground ball rate went from 38% to 44%, so it's up a little bit. And then he still has a pretty extreme home road split, which obviously the PCL, Sacramento is one of the more friendly environments for pitchers, even though it's not pitcher friendly. But he's got a 3.09 ERA at home, 5.89 on the road. Mm-hmm. So just something to monitor, especially as they get to it, whenever he does get to the majors. A lot of the parks are more friendly than he pitched in the PCL. So that was another one I wanted to keep an eye on. Now, everyone keep in mind, this is still like the order of these players isn't necessarily directly related to how they're performing this season.
Yeah.
You know? So some of these guys like Whisenhunt has a little bit of a track record.
Yeah. And I think for some of these guys, we don't need to each chime in about, but like you mentioned, Wiz has the track record, former top 100 prospect, nasty changeup. Probably going to make his debut this year. I think he was unquestionably going to be in the top 5 in general for all of us, and he ended up being in there. Obviously, you'd want to get that, pitch selection to kind of mix it up a little bit, but he by far has the best changeup out of all, pitchers in the minors, in my opinion. So, yeah, I mean, you guys can chime in a little bit. I believe I had Wiz at my number 3, but for those reasons described.
Yeah, Ricky, did you have him number 2?
Yes.
I think Ricky was the one that had him at 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a guy I still believe if he ends up appearing in the majors this season, we'll really see some of his numbers turn around. He's really gotten snake bit by the home run ball in the last 2 months. Obviously, some of that is because of these hitter-friendly yards that he's playing in. The other thing that really is unfortunate that we've seen over the last 2 months as well is his commands dipped a little bit. The very beginning of the season, it was really encouraging because you saw his strikeout numbers were really good. He was going deep into games, and he was barely walking anybody. As they've started to move into some of these more hitter-friendly yards like Salt Lake City, they played a ton at over the last month and a half. Just ask Marco Luciano how that's been going. Yeah, they've been playing it a lot at some of those yards, and I feel like that's really affected him with the home run ball. But you've also seen his walk numbers go up a lot. You see a lot of starts in June and late May where he's had 3 or 4 walks per start. that definitely needs to come down. And it really makes me wonder if there's any chance at all that we just might see him in a role out of the pen late in the season and just let him go out there and simplify things a little bit, not have to worry about going through a lineup multiple times, and just kind of letting him showcase himself a little bit and see what they have going into next season. Just from the standpoint of seeing him at the major league level in a much more pitcher friendly yard.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that was the logic for me as to just bumping him down. And it wasn't really that I think he's not a great prospect or anything. I just put the other two guys ahead of them. The fastball command has been the struggle for me. I too many times I see his fastball sitting around like 91, 92, and he's struggling to get it in like a corner or down in the zone. And it's like, he'll be throwing a gem, and then all of a sudden he'll give up 2 home runs in the 5th or 6th or something like that, where he just leaves them out over the heart of the plate. And it's like, these guys are not going to miss that pitch. So yeah. I do think he either needs to tweak the movement on it, or it might just come down to command, frankly, with that. We'll jump over to number 4. We got Joshua Gonzalez. That was obviously the prize international free agent signing. Was kind of the consensus number 1 for the longest time until Roki Sasaki posted. He's 17. He's down in the Dominican Summer League right now. The numbers aren't going to jump off the page. 246, 701 OPS. He doesn't have a home run yet. 9 extra base hits, 20 stolen bases though, 98 WRC plus. Again, I mean, it's the Dominican League. As long as they don't go and just fall completely on their face, you're not too concerned. The most encouraging thing for me is the numbers don't jump out, and yet they had, I think it might have been Baseball America, they had a bunch of scouts go out there, and they were talking about him, and all the scouts, they were asking like scouts, like, who's, standing out, and most of them were like, this guy's a freak. Like, he's so they have so much confidence that he's going to stick at shortstop with his glove. They talked about his ability to get on base, wreak havoc when he gets on base, all these good things. So super high on him. I get why he gets comps to guys like Jose Reyes. We just got to hope that he hits that potential, because he could be special.
Scouts are raving on him, and he's showing just a bunch of his tools. I mean, especially the speed. You see him get out of the box and hustle first. Like, my goodness, dude's quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's got a lot of potential, man. So I'm hyped to see, what's to come for him. I just want to see him in San Jose sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Maybe end of next year.
Yeah.
And I think Roger Munter pointed out that he had a 109 mile per hour exit velocity.
Yeah.
At 17.
17. Yeah, exactly.
Dude's got some juice in that bat. So pretty crazy. Addy, you know what? I forgot to write his down. I wrote like everybody's down, and he's the one I forgot.
It's been like 1-to-1. He's basically walking at the exact same clip as he's striking out right now. And something to keep in mind, Cody kind of just was alluding to this a minute ago, but the DSL, it's a little bit tough to gauge because the pitching is pretty wild down there. If anybody hasn't watched a really good interview to kind of understand how the DSL works would be that Kyle Haynes interview with Glenn Kuiper. He kind of discusses it and compares the DSL kind of like almost like high school baseball, like higher level high school baseball, and then the ACL more to like college baseball, because these are kids playing at those levels that really didn't get much of either. Down in the Dominican, they don't play a high school baseball. This is basically their high school baseball. So there's a lot of development going on there. There's a lot of command issues from the pitching side down there. You don't see a ton of polished pitchers. So you're going to want to look at his numbers a lot more once he gets over to the complex league and gets a little bit more advanced pitching, a lot better command, a lot more pitches you can do damage with in general. So that's just something to look out for next season.
Yeah,
for sure. We're gonna be kind of going in detail on like a couple more players, and then once we get down, there'll be a point where it'll be kind of a bit more brief. Next, we had Bo Davidson, obviously outfield. We already talked about him quite a bit. 5'12" prospect. 23 years old, now in AA. He got the call up along with Scott Bandura and Jacob Christian. All were promoted a level. But this season to this point, he was one of the best hitters in high A. 309 average, 919 OPS, 10 homers, 30 extra base hits, 12 stolen bases, 148 WRC plus. Yeah, 22.1% strikeout rate, 14.6% walk rate.
I will say he just made the Flying Squirrels a lot more fun to watch.
Yeah. He and Bandura. I'm going to give Bandura his credit too. He's had
for sure,
phenomenal year, but that team is so much more watchable now. Actually excited. You guys want to add anything to that before I jump?
That was the biggest thing I wanted to add. We already touched on him.
Yeah.
He's a 5-tool beast, but just in general, he's going to make Richmond a lot more fun to watch.
If he hits for the next 8.5 weeks and they don't have him as a top 100 prospect, then somebody needs to figure something out with any of these publishers. That's all I'm going to say.
The three of us riot in New York.
Yeah, exactly. No, number 6, like I said, I think I said this at the beginning, number 6 and number 7, we had this as unanimous for all of us. Number 6, we have Johnny Level. He was talked about as the number 1 prospect in the Arizona Complex League, which that says a ton because there are also a lot of other big-time international prospects in that complex league right now.
Dude, he's so good.
And the funny thing with Johnny Level is anytime you're reading scouting report on him, they're like, yeah, none of the specific tools necessarily just jump out as this insanely elite tool. And then they're like, but he just hits, he hits for average, he hits for power, he has speed, he just does everything really, really good. But he's 18, he hit in 296, 892 OPS, 8 home runs, 22 extra base hits, 15 stolen bases, 15.5% strikeout rate with a 12.4% walk rate, 125 WRC plus. So
he's a beast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really hoping we can see him in San Jose at some point this year. That'd be awesome. Obviously, you're a young player, but he's now 3rd in home runs in the complex league. He's 10th in RBIs down there. So for his size, he's showing off a ton of pop, and it's really exciting. Love to see him hit in San Jose in that league. I think we could see the power numbers come up even a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. Number 7, we had Gavin Keelan. Obviously that's their new draft pick. I can't put him any higher above these other guys until we actually see him play. He might, play his way higher than some of these names that are in front of him. But for now, he's 21. He'll likely be in San Jose here in a couple of weeks. Hopefully we'll see him there quickly. But, we're not going to go too deep on that. If anybody wants to know our opinions on him, yes, there's some negativity on the Giants draft philosophy, but we did talk about Keelan as a player, and we do really like him as a player. So, check out the live show from the other day.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull up a comment from earlier. Addy said, where do you think the biggest drop off in between prospect rankings? Is our 6th ranked prospect Miles better than our 7th? To me, as of right now, and this is no disrespect to guys like Bresnahan, Kayama, any of these other players, to me, the drop off hits between 7 and 8.
Yeah. Right now.
Now, that said, Jacob Bresnahan has not been a slouch this year. He's only 20 years old in San Jose, 62 innings, 2.9 ERA, 1.13 whip, 11.76 Ks per 9, 4.06 walks per 9, 0.29 home runs per 9.
Jay Brezzi, another friend of the show, I should say. Super cool guy. Dude's dealing. Not gonna lie, he's been dealing. So I told these guys Brezzi was one of the rare great moves by Farhan Zaidi.
Great move. Got him for a broken Alex Cobb who hadn't thrown a single pitch.
Great move
for the Giants in 2020.
Started 4 games, it felt like, for Cleveland last year.
I mean, absolute steal. But yeah, and it's funny because he's got all these great numbers, and it doesn't even do justice for how dominant he's been for 2 months.
Just watch the tape, man.
He was horrible in April. Horrible. Yeah. To the point where I was like, what? I don't see it with him. And since then, he has been truly
Flip the
dominant.
switch. Yeah.
Oh my God. Insane.
You know what his ERA was in the month of June?
Oh, let's hear it.
0.95.
My goodness, bro.
That's gross. And that's why he was player of the month.
Yeah, he's
in the
a
Cal
beast.
League. Dude's awesome. And then our heinous Kayama, right-handed pitcher. He's 18 years old in the complex league. We might see him in San Jose. Another of these guys that we want to see move through the system. But 44 innings, 2.25 ERA, 1.09 whip, 11.05 Ks per nine, 3.68 walks per nine. He's given up 0 home runs in the complex league so far this season. Mid 90 for those of you, a lot of you probably haven't been able to watch him yet, especially in the complex league. Mid 90s sinker, kind of a, the gyro slider, has a changeup. That's kind of his pitch mix. He's been just dominant, and he's already pumping mid 90s as an 18-year-old. That could go up in the next year or two. So, yeah. And then for me, there's a little bit of a drop off between 9 and below. I feel like 8 and 9 are kind of in a small dip down, and then the next drop off is kind of between 9 and 10. But Diego, he's obviously one of our favorite prospects here. You guys have been aware of that. One of our most underrated, I think. He's 21 in AA, 273 average, 710 OPS, has 16 extra base hits, 13 stolen bases. Calling card is bat to ball skills, 15.5% walk rate, 15.5% strikeout, 13% walk, 117 WRC plus.
Diego. Yeah, we like him.
Yeah, for sure. Joe Whitman, we had at number 11. He's in AA, 23, 71 and 2/3 innings, 5.15 ERA, 1.42 whip, 9.8 K per nine, 3.64 walks per nine, 1.17 home runs per nine. He's been struggling this year a bit. For sure. Very much a roller coaster pitcher. He'll throw you 6 perfect innings and strike out 10, and then throw 7, striking out 11, and then he gets just lit up for a month.
Yeah, he's one of the higher ceiling guys in the system, but it gets a little shaky. It's to the point where he might have to spend another year at that level next year and really kind of refine some things. But this is definitely where it gets to be a real mixed bag in the system. Diego is literally the opposite of Whitman in terms of a prospect. You have Diego, who's an extremely consistent high floor guy. And then you have Whitman, who's the exact opposite, just very low floor, high ceiling. Yeah. And then it kind of continues the same path over the next 5 or so guys as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Dan.
Oh, no, go ahead. I was going to touch on the next one, but if you're still on Whitman, go for it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, all I was going to say is just that I feel like the top 9 are pretty well set and who belongs up there. I feel like anything below that, it's just all subjective and personal preference, at that point.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, you want to take Carlos?
No, I was just going to say, when it comes to ceilings in particular, like you were touching on, Carlos's hit tool, the ceiling there it's sky high. He's got, lots of tools in his bag there. So I just wanted to point that out. I'll let you guys elaborate a little bit more, but I'm a big fan of his hit tool.
Yeah. Yeah, so just to briefly touch on that, Carlos, he's 20 in A-ball. He's hitting 351. Exactly. That is not a typo. He's hitting 351 this season with an 897 OPS, 2 homers, 17 extra base hits. He has 26 stolen bases, 13.7% K rate, 12.6 walk rate. He's almost walking as much as he strikes out, 152 WRC plus. And I'm going to just put out the speculation. I was hoping Dakota Jordan would be the one that gets promoted. When you notice 2 guys got moved from Eugene to Richmond and only one went up to Eugene, and Jacob Christian. So my speculation is that when Carlos Gutierrez is healthy, because he's been dealing with a back injury, which I think Ricky's got an update on that one, but he's been dealing with a back injury. I think when he returns, he's going to go to Eugene.
Yeah. So. Yeah, he's expecting to be playing in the Arizona Complex League starting tomorrow, spend tomorrow and Saturday there, and then they're gonna kind of go from there. Shouldn't be too much longer, and then, like Cody said, might be straight to Eugene from there. Otherwise, I feel like Dakota would have already been bumped up if it was going to be him. I feel like we might see Dakota spend a couple more weeks, and then we might kind of see some of last year's draft class, like, guys like Dakota, Hipwell, Xander. I think that wave of guys might start to make their way up to Eugene as we get a lot more of the draftees from this year in San Jose. Also, by the way, our draft picks are all pretty much in Scottsdale right now.
Nice.
So they will start getting to work here pretty soon.
Good. We'll just hop right over to number 13, Trent Harris. He's in AAA, 26 years old. He is an older prospect, 29 in the third innings. He's got a 5.2 ERA. That has almost all been in AAA. He dominated AA. He struggled a bit since then. He had a great game in the Futures game, though, last week. Like I said, this is just body of work. I'm still a huge believer in him as a high leverage reliever arm, potentially. But he is striking almost 13 per 9. The walks per 9 have gone up a bit in AAA, but he was pretty low. While in AA, it's at 3.98 and 0.61 home runs per 9.
Yeah, the three of us are really high on him in the preseason, and I think it's kind of translated over. A lot of us projected that he might, make an appearance on the big league team at the end of this year. I still think it might be possible come September. See how the season plays out, but yeah, we're big on Trent Harris.
Yeah. Number 14, we had Grant McCray, 24 in AAA. He said, and I'm just going to rip through the numbers. We've all gone into excruciating detail on him, but he's hitting 269, 789 OPS, 13 homers, 34 extra base hits, 26 stolen bases, 10.6% walk rate, 27.2 K, 104 WRC plus. So the extra base hit and speed and stolen base combo is insane with him.
Yeah.
So, and then friend of the show, number 15, Jacob Christian. He also got the promotion to high A Eugene. He's 22. He's hitting 272, 815 OPS, 10 home runs, 30 extra base hits, 12 stolen bases, sneaky, decent on the base paths for a big guy. 10.1% walk rate, 28.3% K rate, 121 WRC plus.
Great player, even better person. Super, super good guy, man. I sent him a message once he got the promotion. He was super hyped and appreciative of us. So yeah, could be happy for him. Hopefully he keeps it going because he absolutely mashed in San Jose.
And now he's up near me.
Now he's all yours, Cody.
I might not be able to get there this season, but I have to imagine he'll probably be there at least at the start of next season. So I may end up having to wait till then, but I'll definitely be trying to catch JC at a game one of these days.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Kind of like Dakota, Jacob actually is right at the top of the RBI leaderboard in the California League where the San Jose Giants play. He is second in that league, right behind Dakota. Dakota is at 70, I believe. I think Jacob's right at 60. So very good pace for him, too. I know one of his personal goals is getting up to 100 RBIs. If he goes on a nice little run, we might see him get there in Eugene, but looking forward to seeing him up there. I think main thing for him is just honestly bring down that K rate just a tiny bit and continue at the pace he's at with his power, and I think he'll continue to climb up the prospect rankings.
And the thing is, he even acknowledges things like that. Like he told us that straight up when we were chatting up with him pregame. He's like, I got to bring that K rate down. So that's one of the cool things about him, just with his work ethic in general. He recognizes, little faults in his game, and he addresses those consistently. So I think that's the reason why you see such numbers like you're seeing so far this year, just because he's consistently work on his craft.
He's a guy that I think is going to take a big year to jump.
I agree.
Like that's where I think you're going to see it with him. Same with Dakota. I think they're both, and he's been crazy. Like I feel like a couple of those guys are going to take big jumps in year 2. And then now kind of the breakout guy of 2025, I think, I don't even know if it's really disputable. Like, as great as like some of these young guys have been, like just somebody that's come out of almost nowhere.
Bandura.
Yeah, Scott Bandura, he wasn't bad by any stretch the first year and a half or so that he was in the system. He's a 2023 7th round pick. Did all right in San Jose, was okay in high A, didn't really like stand out though. And I think he's grabbed every Giants fan's attention this season. In a level where he's been competing for, as far as like who the best hitter is at that level and best player with guys like Bo Davidson and James Tibbs for a long time. And he's been just arguably almost every bit as good as all those guys. So, but Scott Bandura on the year, he's hitting 307. He's 23 in Double A. He's hitting 307, 838 OPS, 7 home runs, 25 extra base hits, 30 stolen bases. I think he's 30 stolen bases he's at a 90% success clip. He's one of like 4 guys in the system with that. 11.8% walk rate, 24.1% strikeout, 132 WRC plus, and a very good defender.
Very good.
Yeah, with him, the thing is you're not going to see crazy power out of him, but I think the hugest takeaway for me is he's way upped his walks. He's almost at a 400 on base this season, so that's been really nice to see. And then, like you said, the extra bases. I mean, 7 home runs is a nice surprise already because he's still got a long ways to go. So he might honestly be he could almost triple his home run total from last season with the pace he's on right now. And then you add in 3 triples, which already matches last season's total. And then he's already only 1 double away from where he was last season as well. So he's far exceeding what he did last year between San Jose and Eugene. So he's another guy that's totally on the rise and just kind of went way under the radar because of really the power output the last year and a half.
Yeah, he's a guy that I think there would be some valid concerns as far as like power translating in Oracle. A lot of his home runs they do come to center field and right center. He doesn't just like spin on balls and hit just nukes to right field or anything like that. But that said, I mean, tons of line drives in his game. He'll use the full field, and he does hit the ball hard and like split the gaps. And he's got great speed. Like the fit that to me makes him a better fit for Oracle. It's like, I don't want this guy out there trying to hit homers. I want this guy getting on base and hitting a crap load of doubles and triples, doing what we want Lee to do, basically.
For sure.
So, number 17 prospect. This is where I think a lot of people have viewed this as a disappointing pick to this point. But we've all kind of liked what we've seen as far as growth from year 1 to year 2 from him. And I think we all have to remember he is only 21 years old. And that's Walker Martin, who down in San Jose, it's only 236, 762 OPS, but he does also have 10 home runs, 24 extra base hits, 7 stolen bases, 13.5% walk rate, 28.1% K rate, 112 WRC plus. The K rate is down like 11% or 13% from last season to this season. And it's been dropping. So I do think it's going to continue to improve.
Yeah, down to 28%. And I'm really looking for a big second half out of him. He went on that massive freaking home run hitting tear, by far the biggest home run hitting tear out of anybody in the Giants organization, big leagues included. So if we see him go on another run like that, he should have no problem getting right around 18 to 20 home runs this season, which would be a massive development for him. Just for a guy who kind of got off to a slow start. I mean, he was coming out of high school as a little bit older of a prospect. He didn't get any pro games in that year he was drafted. So he did get a little bit later start than everybody else. And like is always going to be the case with a lot of these high school kids, they're going to make adjustments to his swing, and it's going to take time for guys to really mature and get comfortable making those adjustments. But, with the San Jose Giants being one of the more exciting watches in the organization this year, I've watched a ton of games, and he has come up super clutch for them on numerous occasions bringing in big hits time and time again. So I'm really excited about his potential. He's honestly putting up pretty close to similar numbers to some of these guys that are a year or two older than him. So they might just give him the rest of the season down in San Jose and just, let him break and let him get on a nice heater going into the end of the season, and then just throw him up in Eugene to start next season and see where he takes off. But I think this season's been a really nice development for him because his pro career got off to a really bad start.
Yeah, big time. Number 18, we had Jack Choate. He's in AA. He's 24 years old, 69 innings pitched. 3.91 ERA, 1.42 WHIP, 10.83 K per nine, 4.96 walks per nine, 1.3 home runs per nine. For him, it's all command. That's been the big thing. But big time, his fastball, it's only like 94, very Bumgarner-esque, with kind of the lower arm angle, lots of carry on his fastball. Gets a lot of swing and miss at the top of the zone. Has kind of that big loopy, if you want to call it a sweeper, curveball, whatever you want to call it. But he throws that kind of big loopy sweeper slurve that from that arm angle is pretty effective. And it's just command though. I mean, he just falls behind too many hitters, but I do like the upside of the arm.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he was one of those ones that Roger mentioned when we had him on, and it was kind of funny because he's like, he strikes out a ton of guys, and I have no clue how. But Choate's one of those guys. I mean, he's not a guy you project to be at the front of the rotation in the future, but he could be a nice depth piece on the back end of your rotation. I mean, he's done pretty damn well at every level. He's another guy I fully expect to see at the enrichment at the start of next season and just kind of let him ride it out there for a little bit while some of the lower level arms catch up, because you're kind of getting to a point where you have a lot of guys clogging up the complex league, San Jose, and then soon to be Eugene as well.
Yeah. Number 19, we had Drelly Maldonado, A-ball 21, 39 and a third innings pitch. I'm kind of wondering if they're trying to develop him as a starter or reliever at this point. Like they're having him start games, but limiting him to 2 or 3 innings. But highly explosive arm. 3.43 ERA, 1.55 WHIP, 10.3 K to 9 or K per 9, 5.95 walks per 9, but 0.23 home runs per 9. He walks a bunch of dudes, doesn't give up a lot of hits or hard contact, but he also strikes out a bunch of dudes. But yeah, triple digits fastball, big time kind of wipeout slider. We'll see if they can develop that arm.
Ricky and I saw him in person. We saw him pitch. He started the game we went to. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. With him, I do think they plan on keeping him as a starting pitcher. His stuff is really good. I don't see any reason why they would cap his ceiling. It's just he had a really significant elbow injury that he had surgery on, and they're just really playing it slow with him. And I think they're going to kind of just keep him on that workload the rest of the season. And then he's a guy I would see starting Eugene next season. And then really kind of starting to work him into like that 5-6 inning range, like you're starting to see with guys like Ferrone and Rodemaker and those guys up there. So
yeah, for sure. And then rounding out our list, our top 20, we had Robert Hipwell down in San Jose. He's 22. He was their 6th round pick last season. He's hitting 245. Now, everybody, if you want to have some fun, go look at his numbers at the end of April. And then look at where he's at now. But he's hitting 245, 864 OPS, 9 homers, 28 extra base hits, 137 WRC plus, 16.4 walk percentage, 29.8% K rate. He's been a bit of a 3 outcome hitter down in San Jose, but he barrels the ball. He gets on base and he barrels the ball. And, we'll see if he develops the hit tool farther. But, right now he's been very productive and very solid and felt like he deserved a spot.
He's another friend of the show. But aside from that, I mean, dude's a unit. He's built. Like, when me and
Yeah.
Ricky met him, and he's got solid tools. So yeah, I mean, hopefully he takes a nice step forward and continues to grow. But the potential's there for sure.
Yeah. And when he talked to you guys, I remember he kind of like Jacob Christian. He knows he needs to get the strikeout rate down, but he was like, I'm just trying to barrel the ball, put it in play, and get on base and keep doing my thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he's a guy. It's like you mentioned, Cody. It's kind of funny looking at his numbers. April, he slugged 267, but then from there slugged 500 in May, 579 in June, and 704 in July. So he has been red hot for most of the season. It's just his average was so low. It's been a very slow. Yeah, 133 in April. So it's been a real slow climb up from there. Yeah. But he has gotten the average up, and he's a guy that you will see hit for a lot of doubles too. I definitely remember watching him in April, and even when he was struggling, I was like, man, he's just barely missing a couple home runs. He still had 4 doubles in the first month of the season, and I remember 2 or 3 of those were like right off the top of the wall in right field. And I mean, you could be looking at him completely different if you tacked on 2 or 3 more home runs. He'd be leading the team. Yeah. So he's a guy I like a lot, and I think he's kind of like Jacob and what you're saying earlier, where I think we see a big rise out of him next season, because this is just his first full pro season now. So
yeah, absolutely.
We love doubles too, Jenny.
We do. But yeah, so everyone, that's the list. We're gonna do this probably again in the off season. I don't know. We might do it like right before the season starts next season. We'll figure that out, but we'll do it again sometime in the off season or right before the season. And we like to just update this about every 6 months or so. So we'll definitely do that. But that was the list. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. You'll have to let us know in the comments where you think we're missing the mark, or if you had people that you liked more than others. But yeah, that was just our take.
I think we did pretty good.
I think it's better than ESPN's list.
Oh, for sure. That was a joke,
man. Dude. It's atrocious.
What the hell was that?
It was so bad. But yeah. All right. With that, we did run a little late tonight. We are going to wrap this thing up. We'll catch all of you guys next week. Thanks again for watching. Like we said earlier, please do hit that subscribe button, hit the like, all that good stuff. But go Giants, and we will catch you next week.
Baseball's back tomorrow, baby. Thank you, God.
Man.
Longest week of my life.
Yeah.
Get ready for the JV show.
Longest week of his life, and it's been 4 days.
Exactly.
All right. Peace out, everyone.